Hi, welcome to this tutorial in which we're going to look at how to express terms in the form ax to the power of n. We're basically going to use this rule, but I'd like to write it as 1 over a to the power of n equals a to the negative n. In other words, we're going to go backwards. Okay? And the first one, it's 1 over x, and x on its own means a power of 1. So it's x to the negative 1. Okay, this number 2, n is 3, so it's simply x to the negative 3 using the rule that I've written down. The next one, we have a 3 in the numerator, so we need to think of this as 3 times 1 over x to the power of 4. And 1 over x to the power of 4, using the rule, is x to the negative 4. So the answer is 3x to the negative 4. Okay? Number 4, we need to think of it as 3/4 times 1 over x squared. And the 1 over x squared, based on the rule, n is 2, becomes x to the negative 2. So the final answer would be 3/4 x to the negative 2, or if you think of the x squared, x to the negative 2 as being over 1, then we can write the answer, if we want to, as 3x to the negative 2 over 4. Both of these are acceptable. Okay? In the next lot, you can see I've written down 3 rules on the right hand side to help us. The first one, it's 6 times, and it's the cube root of x. So based on rule number 1, n is 3. So it's x to the power of 1 over n, which means 1 over 3, x to the power of a third. And in its simplest form, we write it like that, 6x to the third. Okay? This next one, I'm going to do 2 different ways. I'm going to apply rule number 2, and it's 9 times, n is 3, and m is 2. So it'll be x to the power of m over n, which is 2/3. And in its simplest form, it's 9x to the power of 2/3. But if I didn't remember the rule, then I could say it's 9 times x squared, cube root, based on rule number 1, means a power of a third. And of course, if you raise a power to a power, if you remember, you multiply the powers together. So you get 9x to the power of 2 times a third, 2 lots of a third, is 2/3. So we achieve the same answer. This next one, we need to think of it as 5/4 times 1 over the root of x. And what do we mean by root of x? What power is it? Based on rule 1, n is 2. So it's x to the power of a half. And based on rule 3, 1 over x to the power of a half becomes x to the negative a half. So the answer would be 5/4 times x to the negative a half. We miss out the time sign. Or, if you prefer, you can say it's 5x to the negative a half over 4. And if you're wondering why we're doing all this, it's going to help you, students who go on to do calculus, differentiation and integration. Okay, that's only one application. Okay, so far? Good. The next lot, the last lot, 7, 8, 9, and 10, again I've written 3 rules there. The first one, we need to think of it as 5/7 times 1 over the cube root of x, which is 5/7 times 1 over, and cube root based on rule 1 means a power of a third. And then we write as 5/7 times, and we apply rule 3, 1 over x to the third becomes x to the negative a third. So you can then write it as simply as 5/7 x to the minus a third. And of course there's another form, you can write it as 5x to the minus a third all over 7. Both of those acceptable. This next one, we need to think of it as 2/3 times 1 over the 4th root of x to the power of 5. Based on rule number 2, the 4th root of x to the power of 5, n is 4, m is 5, it's x to the power of 5 over 4. Make sure you get this the right way around. It's m over n. Then based on rule number 3, 1 over x to the power of 5 over 4, becomes x to the negative 5 over 4. So the final answer is 2/3 x to the negative 5 over 4, or if you prefer, you can write it as 2x to the negative 5 over 4 all over 3. Both of those are acceptable. The last one is a bit tricky because of the 27 inside the cube root. But the first thing to do is to split that cube root of 27x to the cube root of 27 times the cube root of x, which is then 18 over cube root of 27 is 3 times the cube root of x is x to the power of a third. Okay? And the 3 and the 18 will cancel to leave you a 6 at the top. So we get 6 over x to the power of a third, which is 6 times 1 over x to the power of a third. And using rule number 3, this becomes 6 times x to the minus a third. And I'm missing out the time sign. This is the bit you need to go back and have a look at tutorials how to do that. Okay? Or find out how to go from there to there. Okay? Well, I hope you found that useful. Thank you for listening. Until next one, take care.